I'm W.A. Hammontree, and this is my story. I'm 90 years old, and I was born in Varnell, Georgia. We were farmers, and I had to plow most of the time. There wasn't much time for anything else. And I had to do all the plowing, and when I got that done, I had to help hoe, and that made me mad. When the plow stalks would come up, it hit me on the head. That's how tall I was plowing. I guess I started plowing when I was 7 or 8 years old. And I done that as long as I was farming, you know. When I got old enough to hunt me a job, I got a job. I got tired of farming. And we didn't farm long after that anyway. And I got to work there. I'd work 2 shifts most of the time. And the pay was great. I got $18 a week for 2 shifts a day. It was a bedspread industry. I had to do all the tying them up in bundles and getting them to the laundry and back from the laundry. And I drove a truck a while from Chattanooga to Guntersville, Alabama, twice a day, hauling bedspreads to another plant they had down there from Chattanooga. And other than that, my military record, I went in the service. I was in the service about nearly 4 years. And I was wounded in Italy, up in the mountains. When I was 21 years old, I was sitting in a foxhole, and I'd always loved raising cakes, you know, big cakes. My mother sent me one. I got it on my 21st birthday, sitting in that little foxhole. It lasted about 2 minutes when the rest of them seen it. And then we stayed in that one place for just about 30 days. And about 2 weeks before they invaded France, we jumped off there and was fighting toward France up in the mountains. And other than that, that's about all I've done in Italy. Just as a squad leader, I had 12 men I had to keep ammo, rations, everything for. And when I was in the service, I went overseas as a PFC, and about 30 days on the front, or a little more than that, I made staff sergeant. And then I got wounded. I had to stay in the hospital 9 months. And I went to Florida and stayed down there at the hospital there till I got tired of the place and going to the hospital to the beach. I asked them to ship me out, and they sent me on further down in Florida. I stayed about 3 weeks there, and I went to North Carolina and worked in R.J. Reynolds' tobacco factory. Had a whole bunch of German prisoners working there that I had to keep under control. Well, when I went to school, had one teacher really, was all they had. The 2 teachers, I went to one of them, Miss MIHS. That's my first teacher that I ever had. I went to her through little school, and then I got up to, well, the high school didn't come into our place till after maybe 5 or 6 years after I started school. So we got a high school teacher then. Other than that, we just slip out in the shrubbery and smoke, and that was it. Well, we raised cotton and corn most of the time. And I was just plowing behind a mule with a plow, you know, 2 handles. And I was so little, it slapped me in the head. animals would. But it was good, you know. My grandparents, I remember, I do, my grandmother and my grandfather, but not my daddy's grandmother and father. They were both gone.
They died of food poisoning.
He had to raise five of them. There's five of them, and he had to raise them. He was the oldest, and he kept them to. In fact, his youngest brother. He lived with us. Lord, I was 25 years old when he left. But he always had a hard life, my daddy did. He always had to work, keep up the whole generation when they was growing up. And some people told me that they kept trying to separate them, you know, wanted to give some to this and some to that. He said whenever they seen the people that come in and wanted to separate them, said it's like a covey of birds. They just vanished. They'd run off and hide. Just all in all, we've had a real good life. I don't really know how people stood it back then, just to be honest with you. It's a lot easier now. Back when I was young, you couldn't hardly get a job. If you got one, it didn't pay nothing, 50 cents a day or something like that. Well, I've worked several days hoeing cotton or corn for 50 cents. And when I went to work at Public Works, I started out at 18.5 cents an hour. You could work all your life and you couldn't make over $16 a week. I worked 2 or 3 shifts a day. About $16 a week is all you could draw. But you know, we done pretty well on that. We paid rent, eat, and everything. You could buy quite a bit with it, but you can't buy nothing now with it. Well, whatever you could kill wild, mostly rabbits or something like that. We eat a lot of them. But we did raise a lot of hogs, you know, and kill them. That's about it. We hardly ever had any beef. Most of the time we just might have a milk cow, but that's about it. If you had a calf from the cow, you either had to sell it to get something else or something, you know. You didn't get nothing for it either, maybe $3 or $4. All in all, I guess considering everything, we come out pretty good. Because I've got up to 90 years old now. I'll be 91, 5th day of April, if I make it to then. And if you could get a good job, they're lucky, just to be honest with you. But they think, you know, now if you don't make $400 or $500 a week, you ain't made no money. If I made $4 or $5, I thought I'd done good. But I survived, and that's what counts. Well, I can remember when I was overseas, it was raining one night, and there's a tarpaulin there, and there's some people under it. I crawled under that thing, went to sleep, and the next morning I heard them say, "Did you wake them guys up under that tent, under that tarpaulin?" I said, "No, they're dead." I come out, I said, "This one's not." I'd slept all night with them dead people. Of course, it was dry, and I didn't care. He had an old black snake that stayed in a corn crib all the time to catch rats, you know. That thing scared me to death, and I killed a snake. I never did tell him what happened to it. The Italian prisoners was our mule skinners. Everything we had was mule trains up in them mountains. You could hear them mules fall off them trails at night. They wasn't no wider than this. going around there at night, you know, 8 or 10 of them in a bunch, and you could hear them fall off, and you could hear them rattling for 10 minutes, them Mormite cans and stuff going down the mountain, hitting the top of the trees and everything. Them poor mules had it made rough. But whenever Italy surrendered, most of their troops become our mule skinners. So that's what we call them, mule skinners. They run the mule trains. But they done that all time at night, mostly. But them mountains, I tell you, I never seen any mountain any straighter down than it was. You could walk for a half a day back and forth and look right down there where you was at the top of the tree that morning. But we finally got on top of the mountain. It took a long time. And fought, I guess, 50, 60 miles through them mountains. And I got hit. The morning I got hit in Italy, there was a plowed furrow right down the top of a little hill ridge. And they shot 3 times. I thought, well, GI just found him a German, you know. But it was a signal. Them 3 machine guns opened up on me, all 3 of them at the same time, shooting at me, just one of me. I was laying in that fur. I mean, I was laying down too, as close as I could get to the ground. And the dirt was hitting me in the face where the bullets was coming under me and over me. And the dirt was piling up on my back. When I raised up, it was like you throwed up there with a shovel. I bet they shot 2,000 rounds at me and hit me twice, at the same time. And one of them went through the bottom of my foot, come out the top, and the other one went through the back of it and lodged up there between my big toe and my foot. And they took that bullet out through that hole where the other one come out. And I seen all that, and I thought, well, I'll be in the hospital here 3 or 4 weeks and be back on the front. They come through there one morning, said, we're shipping you out. I said, where am I going? He said, going to the States. I said, that's good. Took me out there in the harbor, laid out there 3 days. I thought, well, you lying people. They finally got us on the boat coming home, man. But that was a long trip. Yeah. I went from Varnell to Texas, and Texas to Virginia, and Virginia over to Africa and Italy, and all through there, up in them mountains, and I can't even think of the name of the town now. Anyway, they had a lot of German prisoners up there, Italian prisoners, what they was. They worked for us in the office. They'd steal everything you had. We put pup tents, you know, and you'd lay anything around where you're sleeping. They'd come up and reach under there and get it. I hear anybody sticking their hand under mine, I'd start with my knife. Going around, boy. Try to get them. I never did get nobody, but they didn't get nothing in my mind either. And then they could outrun a horse, because I seen them one day, the kitchen guys was after them. I don't know what they'd stole from the kitchen. But they was in a truck, and them people was outrunning that dang truck down the road. I laughed and I cried at that. I took a German prisoner. We had some that worked out on the farm, you know, 3 or 4 here and there, and we have to take them out and dump them off every day and pick them up in the evening, you know. And I had to go around during the day and check, see if they was giving them any trouble, if they was working all right. But we'd pick them up late in the evening. We forgot some one night. It was waiting over at the bridge for us, you know, about 10 of them. And we happened to think about 10 o'clock, we didn't pick them prisoners up. They may be gone now. We was took out there to get them. Every one of them still sitting there waiting on us. You couldn't run them off. We had one of them run our PX up there. He said, I'll have to go back to Germany. I said, I'm not staying, I'm coming back. They liked it here, man. They had it made. Every one of them prisoners up there, but it was about 2,000 of them, they was all little young German officers. Every one of them. And they was in Louisiana. And they said they volunteered to come up there and work to get out of Louisiana. I said, I don't blame you, I would have too. Ain't nobody like Louisiana, I'm telling you. So you don't have to work in it and that. But all in all, some of it was hard, some of it was pretty good. We had a lot of fun too. I know when they declared Rome an open city, we got on them old GI trucks and rode 60 miles just as fast as we could go to catch up with the Germans. They was really going north. We finally caught them. But that was my going through the Rome. I stayed in Rome 3 days. They give me 3 days R&R for a rest up. Who could rest up in 3 days? But anyway, I went down there and I made it 3 days. I did see a little bit of stuff. I didn't go too much. But there's more cathedrals there than any place I ever seen in my life. And I mean expensive things. I don't tell how much money they cost to build. But they was all full of monks or something. I don't know what they were. I went through Vatican City. I got to go through it while I was there. Wasn't nothing there but the Pope. And I didn't care nothing about seeing him. But all in all, I seen a lot of country I'd never seen. And a whole lot of it I hope I never see again. But I would like to go back through Italy, just go through, see where I went before, through Rome, Florence, and all through there. All the big towns are nice. Other little joints about like Varnell, they wasn't much. But they had plenty of wine, that's what I liked. I'd get them building, every one of them had 2 big old barrels, I guess it'd hold 10,000 gallons of wine. Great big old barrels. Well, I'd sit there and drink that stuff as long as I sat there. It wouldn't make you drunk, there wasn't no alcohol much in it, just mostly grape juice. And then I seen how they made it, and I was kind of sick after I seen that. They had them barrels on 2 wheels with a mule pulling them, and they was about, I guess that deep, maybe 3 or 4 foot. And they 3 or 4 women up in them barrels. Every one of them, from here up, this barrel that had anything on, they was stomping them grapes. And I thought, my Lord, and I've been drinking that juice. And then that doesn't make much difference. I started drinking it again. But I figured they had a press, you know. They may have had one after they got them stomped, but they stomped them and started. Didn't even wash them grapes. They just pull them off in baskets and throw them in there and stomp them. But all in all, I guess I seen things that would have cost several dollars to see, and I never would have seen them, so I guess all in all, I did get a little something out of it. I learned one thing. I didn't want to go overseas as bad as I thought I did. And I sure was glad when I seen the United States again, too. But when you get 3 miles out, you're overseas. whether you liked it or not. We went overseas, went over on an old English boat. That was the stinkingest old boat I ever seen. That thing must have been 500 years old. It just stunk. And they said, you can't eat nothing on here greasy. If you do, it'll make you sick, and you'll be sick, throwing it. They said, if you don't eat anything, just eat cookies or something like that. I eat crackers all the way overseas. I didn't eat nothing else. I wasn't about to eat that stuff and get sick. They get some old boys that get seasick. Lord have mercy, it's like throwing up their entrails, over the side. I got to thinking after I got overseas, they wouldn't let you throw a cigarette overboard. They said the German U-boats would trace them cigarettes. I was wondering what they'd done to them people that was vomiting all that. But I thought that was ridiculous, though. Well, let's throw a cigarette butt over. You had to tear them things up, and they burned them. But I learned a whole lot. A whole lot I wanted to forget. We had been there for 30 days, and was just waiting for them to get ready to invade France, And when they were going to jump off there in 2 weeks, we jumped off here to draw the Germans to us like they're stupid, and where the others could land, But when I seen the pictures of the landing, I was glad to help get some of them troops back from there, because it killed us 28,000 off of one little time. The water was floating with dead GIs. But I was glad to help them when I seen that. And they were shooting at us from up on a ridge, and the captain says, go get that sniper. I took 3 guys and were going after the sniper. Meantime, the sniper left before we got to where he was, and they moved out while we was up there. I told them, I said, I'll just go down in front of the ridge, down top of the ridge here, and we catch them down there, and we caught them 7 days later. We'd been in front of them, behind them, and everything else. So they was fixing to send a telegraph home as missing in action. Done had it ready to go. When we I found the captain. He says, get over here with the squad. The squad said, we're going to take that hill there. And I said, there ain't nothing on that hill. We've been all over that. And it was full of big foxholes, but there wasn't nobody up there. And I told him, I said, there ain't nothing up there. Thing's full of holes, but we've been all over that. And I thought, my Lord, we've been in front of them and behind them and everything else. But we finally got everything going again. It wasn't long after that till I got wounded. Lord have mercy, I jumped over a fence wall one time and dropped down between 2. They was on the other side. They were scared as I was. I remember one time we was about 6 of us sleeping downstairs in an old house that had an upstairs. Next morning, 6 Germans come down and went out too. They'd been upstairs asleep. Them the ones that was drafted like we was, they didn't want to fight. They wouldn't fight. But them SS troopers, his pride and joy, you had to kill them. They would not quit. If there was an SS trooper there, you had to kill him before he'd quit. And they finally got where it didn't have very many of them. They just put a few in each outfit to make the others fight. And if we could find them, we got them first, and that took care of the rest of them. But them SS, that was his pride and joy. They all had a different uniform. They got paid more. They got everything they wanted. But they was mean. Boy, they was mean. But I survived about, I don't know, about a year or close to it. I remember when you could make an office, enlisted anything you wanted to, really. I didn't want nothing. They kept trying to get me to take squad. I said, I don't want no squad. I got enough to do without that. But finally, the captain just told me, he said, you're either going to have to take it or you're going to have to follow some of these guys that's just come over here and don't know from a hole in the ground. And I said, well, in that case, I'll take it. I was assistant squad leader that way, but the buck sergeant. I never did get paid for buck sergeant. I made staff sergeant in about 2 weeks after that. And then, wasn't long as I got wounded, and they offered to make me a tech sergeant if I'd stay 30 days, and I didn't want that, so I just come on home. But that's just about a life story. Not much, but it's something. Well, the first one I carried was a spraying field, a bolt action job. And then the M1A1 come in, I got that too. And then when I got well trained, really, I went to BAR man, they called me, And I had to carry ammo for it, carry the 21-pound gun, and 2 more guys was carrying ammo for it too. And I got in that hole when I got shot going across that field in front. I shot my pants legs a little bit. I was sitting in that thing, they was shooting up there, and I thought, what in the world are they shooting at? I reached up there to get my ammo and stuff, and they had exploded. Every bit of it, shot that belt all to pieces and everything. It was just full of powder and bullets and hulls. None of them went off. I don't know how in the world they kept from going off. But I didn't even get hurt out of that, so I felt kind of lucky there. But you get into some messes, I'm telling you. I don't ever want it again. I wouldn't take nothing for what I went through. Well, you don't never get where you're not scared. You get where you just don't care. You just do whatever you can do and go on and not worry about it. Because most of the time you feel like you're never going to get home anyway, in one piece. Or I did anyway. And I know a lot of other guys did too. Because you're out there a lot of times by yourself, nowhere, don't know where you're at either. And you just have to go till you find somebody you know or something. Just like some guys I was talking to that jumped they was in the paratroopers, they jumped, and one guy he seen another guy laying over there, he was slipping up to him, they're gonna get him, and the other fellow was laying over there, laughed at him and said, funny, ain't it? Said, he's dead. He said, you can't do nothing to him. They kept talking. He said, did you see anything different about him? He said, no, I don't see nothing different. He said, look at his boots. He's got them on the wrong feet. He had come out of them buildings when they started bombing them and dropping paratroopers. He put his boots on the wrong shoe on his wrong foot. His boots are sitting out like that. Well, all I've done with German tanks was just try to avoid them. Most of the GIs that was in the tank division fought the Germans, but they didn't have a chance with that little old tractor we had. They had that big one with a 75 millimeter gun on it, They'd knock a tank out 10 miles down the road. And I don't know, we was on the side of the mountain. It was a steep mountain. And the road down there, one night, the moon was shining pretty bright. And I was sitting up there watching the German planes flying around, you know. And the big planes, the bombers, they kept trying to get them tanks. They could hear them running, you know. They started bumming that road down there. And I was sitting way up above them. I could see the pilot and the co-pilot in the plane. I was above them on the side of that mountain. Some of the guys said, "Did you shoot at them?" I said, "No, I didn't shoot at them. I wasn't about to tell them where I was at." They wasn't hurting nothing. They wasn't even getting a tank. They just trying to. They never did get none of them tanks on that road. But that plane was, I mean, it was low. It just, I was above it and I could see everything in that plane. See the pilot and the co-pilot. It was either a tank or a 75 millimeter gun that had the same gun on it. I was standing out there looking around and in a hole, like had a wall about twice as high as that wall. And I'm looking around to see what was going on. I heard something, boom, bam, hit that bank right ahead of me. And I got out of there, man. It shot that tank at one man, me. I couldn't understand how in the world they could shoot a 75 millimeter at one person. But they did, but it didn't go up and it didn't go 2 foot over my head to hit that wall. But I was about 30 or 40 foot from it. And I got about 30 or 40 foot more too after that. But you have some things that you never do forget, and some things you forget about. Some of the things I'll never forget. Your buddies, you know, you have a buddy 1 minute, and the next minute you don't have nobody. And I've never figured out how I survived. The whole time I was in Italy, I was in combat, just about it. The last time I was up there was 90 days of it. It's supposed to get a break every 30 days. I was up there 3 months and I didn't get a break out of it for 3 months. Of course, I wasn't the only one. The whole battalion was that way. I was with the 88th Division. We fought 300 airline miles through Italy, through them mountains. But I didn't hardly finish up the 300 miles. I might have got 2/3 of it. That's a long ways to walk. I never didn't want to take a prisoner. I'd rather they just quit or get killed. Sometimes you get into a tight place, but most of the time you can get out if you try. We had a lot of fun. One time we was out on patrol. We got tired and sat down. It was in a big circle, you know. We didn't want to sit just right together. They shot us mortar shell or artillery or something right in the middle of us. Turned every one of us flipped and didn't hit nobody. And we thought we better get out of here before we get hurt. But I never did see what shot at us. I don't know what it was, whether it was a tank or artillery. They had the same guns on them. But they had that old 75. That thing was just like a rifle, man. It could really shoot. About the biggest thing we had was a 55 millimeter. And it wasn't nothing. Our tanks wasn't nothing compared to what they had. They had them big old Tigers, and we had them little old bitty ones. Look like little midgets out there. But you know, they get in a fight, and them little old tanks could turn so close, they'd make them others shoot each other. Them big ones, they couldn't turn as fast as them little ones could. But that's the only thing they was fit for, just to maneuver. But them Germans was shooting each other, trying to hit them little old tanks. I wonder what you'd say scared any time. Well, I mean, you know, really scared. But sometimes you get to where you didn't want to do certain things, you know. But I never did what you'd say get real scary. Only time I really didn't like to go out was on patrol when you had to go maybe 3 miles until you hit the enemy. And it's combat patrol. Now, I didn't mind reconnaissance patrol because you just went out so far and looked around and see if there's anything there. But if they sent you on a combat patrol, you had to go till you drawed fire. I didn't like them because it's night and you didn't know where you was at or nothing. I had an Indian and a Mexican in my squad. I never had to ask them to go anywhere with me. When I pick up my rifles to go on patrol, they'd pick theirs up and say, where we're going. I just tell them they's going with me. All 3 of us was on in every patrol I went out. Neither one of us never did get hit. We're pretty lucky. But when I got wounded, I was the only man there on that side of the hill. And I could have got out, but I didn't think it was, I thought just a signal, you know. I just hit the ground when it went bam, bam, bam. That was signals, all it was. And they all 3 opened up on me then. And I was surprised I got out of that at all. Well, it's a wonder I didn't look like a sifter. Because they were shooting under me, over me, down by the side of me. Everyone, it's just missing me, just barely missing me. And the dirt was just piled up on my back. And when I raised up and poured it off, it sounded like it's poured off with a shovel, put it up there. I had a submachine gun. I was going to fire at them with that, and I thought, well, if I fire that thing, they'll know they ain't killing me. And I just laid it down with a bolt. I pulled back on it, and I've often wondered if somebody got shot with that thing when they picked it up or something, you know. I had my field glasses and everything on it. I was going to bring my field glasses home with me, and I got back to where I went to the hospital. I happened to think of it. I thought, my Lord, I left my field glasses there. I was going to bring them home with me. But that's one thing we didn't have enough of, was field glasses and watches. It's hard to have a coordinated attack if you didn't know what time it was when the others were going to start. I had one of them, I pulled it off, just an old one, and I laid it down on the side of the foxhole where I was in, and I went off, left it laying there. And then I lost my field glasses the morning I got wounded. But if I'd have stayed over that on that side of that mountain another 30 minutes, I wouldn't have never got out because it was getting daylight, and I knew they'd know that I wasn't dead. Then they thought they had killed me because I just laid there. I didn't even move. But when I got that, I pulled my, them old buckles. I had them 2 old buckles on them shoes. When I unbuckled them, the strings was all broke where it hit my foot. My shoe fell off. I thought my foot fell off. The shoe was full of blood. I was crawling over the hill then. That had my foot up in the air. It was waving that white band-aid on it. They were still shooting at me, and me crawling across the mountain trying to get away. I finally got over far enough so I could get up on my knee and walk with my knee and my other leg. I was going up the little road ditch, and a couple of GIs come by. "What you doing?" I said, "I'm trying to get to the aid station. I got wounded." They got me up between them and carried me just about it to the aid station. I never did know who they was. I would like to thank them because it took me 30 minutes to get there trying to walk on my right knee and my left leg because I didn't have the road ditch all the way. But that's one good thing about buddies. If you had buddies, they'd help you if they could. They didn't care how dangerous it was. But I had some good men. I had 12 men under me all the time. Well, I didn't have 12. I was supposed to have 12. Most of the time, we just had 5 or 6. They kept so many of them getting killed and wounded. I remember one day I was going back to pick up 6 recruits that was going to be in my squad. They shelled us while I was back there at the crossroads to get them. And I asked the sergeant, I said, "Where's my recruits at?" He said, "They done gone. They got wounded in that shelling. They just had got there. They got hit." But I thought I was going to get hit in that. I finally got down in the ditch where there's no tile. I got my head in that tile, and the rest of them is in that ditch. Didn't get hit, but well, they was all around me. They got every one of my replacements. So I went back and still didn't have no squad. There's one thing about it. You don't know what you can go through till you go through it. You can find out that you can do a whole lot of things that you didn't think you could do. Survive, you can survive when you have to. But everybody had to talk about. I know I go down to the wellness center now for exercise and stuff. They tell me if I don't go down there, that I won't last long, so I just keep going. I talked to some guys that's been in the infantry and everything, and the tanks and artillery, and they say everything they say, stay out of the infantry. They don't like it. No, I didn't ask for it. I just got it. They just told me that I was in the Army infantry. But you don't never know over there what you're in anyway. You're just fighting and that's it.